What's going on, guys? This is the DeFi Crypto Line Show where we do our best to be the bridge between our fellow real estate investors, entrepreneurs alike, and the cryptocurrency world because crypto is the biggest opportunity over the next year or so, and it's not even close. Welcome along on the journey. We're pumped to have you guys. Corey, take it away.
Absolutely. Corey Geary here in the beautiful country of Puerto Rico. And guys, we had a bit of a pump over the weekend. Nothing too crazy, but a little bit of green candles doesn't hurt anybody. And Pulse seems like it went up a little bit. Pulsex, Inc., Hex. Maybe we hit a bottom. I don't know. Is it possible? Only one way to find out, and that is to basically hodl your bags and see if this starts to trend back up again. So this has been a lot of fun, hanging out with you guys. And I feel like we have another good year, probably before I start taking profits. We'll see what happens with October in Richard Hart's court case. We'll see when Pulsechain gets privacy. We'll see when ETH ETFs get approved. And that reminds me, Dame, I was watching Crypto 7 show yesterday. Is it 2 days ago? I think it's 2 days ago. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I've watched this show a few times, and I learned something every time I watch a show. And this time around, he was saying all the streamers need to become ETH maxis and ETH pumpers. We need to be like shilling Ethereum. We need to really, beat the drum and beat the good word of Ethereum out there. Pulsechain's fine, but we need to onboard the world onto Ethereum because that is what we're leverage off of. And I was like, he's right. Why aren't we beating the good word of Ethereum? Why isn't more streamers and more community members talking about if our entire treasury, if you will, that's what Sammy likes to call it, if our entire treasury is in Ethereum, why aren't we beating the drum of Ethereum a lot more? Like, this is what we are based off of now. If Ethereum goes up, we get to go up. We're leverage on that. If Ethereum goes down, we've seen it in the last month, we go down. So, yeah, it really a light bulb went on there. Holy crap, he's right. Why aren't we shilling ETH a lot more and talking about ETH? Because we got taught that we were supposed to talk down on ETH to shield Pulsechain. Like, ETH gas fees. The network is congested. It should be the opposite. We should be onboarding and bringing people to Ethereum because people understand that. People have heard of that. We need to pump ETH, and then Pulsechain will pump indirectly. Like, we don't have to onboard into Pulsechain. And that's why, Brizology's like, I don't want people in Pulsechain. Brizology's like, I want all the profit for myself. And I was like, yeah. I think I'm going to become an ETH maxi, Dane.
I like the theory. It's pretty fascinating that if you can get more people in ETH and pump things up there, if a certain someone decides to use that leverage on ETH to come back and pump Pulsechain, theoretically that could happen sooner rather than later if you got the pump over there. Yeah, I like it. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, you gotta go tell your mom or your grandma, your brother, your sister to go buy stuff on ETH and pay freaking 20,
you
50,
just buy
$100
Ethereum. You just tell them to buy ETH. That's it. You don't go buy all the meme coins and whatever else is going on. Just buy a big old bag of ETH and hodl.
The gas fees, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it, but we need Ethereum to be successful for us to be successful. There is no two ways about it. And so we've been touting the wrong message. I tell you, man, I like Crypto 7. And guys, we're going to have him on our show tomorrow. I actually reached out to him. I was like, hey, bro, every time I watch a show, I learn something. And we'll discuss a few of those things tomorrow with him. But I know some of you guys are like, Crypto 7. I've seen the controversy around, but I actually like the guy. I really do. I like the guy. I love watching his streams. I always learn something. I love, I like his personality. I love that. It's the same reason why I like RH. I like RH's personality. A lot of people say that. I actually genuinely like RH's personality. That's just me though. It's so yeah, we're gonna have him on the show tomorrow, guys. It's gonna be a good time. I encourage all you guys to come on watch the show. I'll be shilling it obviously tomorrow. We're gonna be 1 hour later tomorrow, normal. We usually do 12 EST. Tomorrow will be 1 p.m. EST. Was help accommodate his schedule. He's obviously not in the part of the world that we're in. He's in the opposite side of the world. And so we're trying to accommodate him a little bit. And I think it would have a great conversation just talking about, Hex, Pulsechain, RH, the entire ecosystem and where he thinks things are going. So it'll be a good show. So
yeah, that will be good. In fact, we've got a friend here in Puerto Rico that is leaving the island and has a beautiful penthouse that you can come and rent if you wanted to come and protect those sweet, sweet, juicy bull run gains that we all anticipate having. So if you want to come to Puerto Rico, you're out here looking for a property, send us a DM. He's got a really nice property that's priced extremely fairly. It's hard to find that here in Puerto Rico. So let us know. You could come and hang out with us on the island. That would be fun.
Yeah, just for a couple of years, 3. It's got to be 3. Just 3 years. Hang out with us, and technically you're only on the island for a year and a half because you don't have to stay the whole entire year. Back, one of my good friends, one of our good friends, just left. He's gonna be just been traveling around the world. He won't be back until I think he said maybe September, August, or September, October. I think he said. So yeah, so hang out with us. There we go. DWB.
It just keeps going, man. It is wild.
I bought leverage on DWB. There's 2 different leverages you could take on DWB. Stupid. One is TWV, and the other one is BWD. And they're all pumping. So
they're all entrenched together.
They're all entrenched together. But the smallest market cap, if you want to get a well position, I actually bought a well position for cheap, was the BWD. It's the newest one, the newest iteration of this sexual organ. That's the new iteration. Yeah, I got myself a well position, dude, for practically nothing. Wow. I didn't even know it's pumping that hard. Okay.
So
yeah.
Yep, looking good.
I mean, apparently Pulsechain's the place to be for genital memes. Hey,
right.
Dane, I will take genital memes over racist memes over on Solana any day of the week, though.
Agreed. Agreed.
Oh, it's so stupid.
What's the market cap of Teddy Bear here? Let's see. $31 million market cap.
Big. In comparison, I think. Yeah.
DWB is a 9 million market cap. I mean, he only got a 3x it to go and become the biggest meme on Pulsechain. Do you think so? Here's an interesting question for you, Corey. As far as memes on Pulsechain go, let's start here. Do you think that they bring adoption? What are your thoughts on that?
120%. Yeah, man. They bring over new money because they like to come. New money likes to gamble, whether you like it or not. I'm a utility token guy. I love utility tokens. I love stuff that has product market fit, that does something like mining with Pulse or staking Fang because I get revenue share of the product. I love stuff like that, but that stuff is not pumping right now, and this stuff is not making money because new money doesn't like to take punts on that type of. They like gambling with meme coins and stuff that makes them laugh. So what are you going to do? Are you going to sit back and just wait for your turn? You could, Or do you want to go and stick your toe in the water and make some, money on some stuff that is doing well? Like you say, Dane, let the market teach you. This is going to bring over the money from Solana. I know for a fact, not for a fact, but I know from a very reliable source that there was a lot of money coming over from Solana when Solid X was pumping pretty hard. There was money coming over from Solana. Of course, that was during Solana's meme coin season 2. I think it's kind of cooled off a little bit recently, but that is what made Solana pump so hard, was that it had just an astronomical meme coin season recently. It was where first little iteration of a bull run that we saw was over there on Solana, and I think we could do it here on Pulsechain too. So unfortunately, we need to be accepting these meme coins. And even I don't care for them that much because they're toxic, but like they do bring good meme coin culture to the chain. I just wish they would do it with a more, I don't know. They just have at least one member who's extremely toxic. But the Tang game brings a lot of meme culture over to Pulsechain. And actually, Dane, Dick with Butt was created by the Tang game. That's one of their meme coins, along with they have a whole basket of them. And I think it's very good for the chain, and it's very good for adoption. It's very good for getting eyeballs on us while we're in still a little bit of this like going down sideways with Ethereum. Remember, guys, I'm an ETH Nazi now. So like, we need to get ETH pumping again. And before ETH pumps, this is what you got to do, right? Like you're going to bring over the casino guys. And it works. It does work. And we've seen it work with other chains, right? And I think there's a time and a place for all of it. Even the utility stuff. I love the utility stuff, but maybe it's just not the time and place for it. We just need to wait. Maybe it's the place for it. It's just not the time for it, I guess. So we need to wait a little longer between, for the cycle to continue before maybe some of the utility stuff goes off. I don't know. More sophisticated money, I would think, would gravitate towards the utility. But then maybe I'm wrong. Maybe sophisticated money likes genital pictures. I just don't
made up genitalia. That's one thing I'm really interested to see this bull run, because there's a lot of people saying that, right? Oh, wait till the sophisticated money gets here, then the utility stuff will go. I hope. I'm curious. I think so too. But I'm curious.
I'm not willing to bet the whole farm on it.
No. Yeah, it's nice to have some diversification. So on days where the core is slow, some of your other stuff is moving more. It's good to have some diversification.
I agree. I mean, ideally, you want to be taking profits if you are diversified and going back into the layer 1, or maybe your thing is Hex. My thing is the layer 1, and building that bag. That would be the goal. But I mean, something like with Dick Butt, where do you start taking profits? The thing just keeps running. Like we're at a $9 million market cap. Does it stop? Like will it go to 100 million? I mean, maybe. Who knows, man? That's wild to think. But we had meme coins over on Solana that go to multiple $1 billion market caps. It's impossible to do. It can happen. It can absolutely happen. So I mean, it's just I mean, I love utility tokens, man. I do. I love use case. I love that kind of. Sami made fun of me actually on his shows. He's like, Corey and Dane, and Corey talks about he loves utility tokens. He's from real estate and he likes stuff that makes sense. And he's just Sami. It was like a week ago he mentioned us, dude. And I was like, God damn it, Sami. Yes, you're right. You're right, dude. He had a point. He's just like, it doesn't need to make sense on crypto. There doesn't need to be the product market fit that's in your head. The product market fit is the genitalia pictures that people wake up in the morning and laugh at, so they buy it because they're laughing. That's literally what it is. I mean,
there was a clip of a guy on YouTube. I actually thought this was pretty insightful. He went around and he had 2 pictures. He had a picture of the dog. He's a dog with hat.
I put that in our community.
I thought that was great. And I think the other one was Ethereum. And so he's walking around explaining like the two. He's like, this one is just a dog with a hat. There's not much else to it. It's just like this picture. But this one has all these cool things. It does this, it does this, and it does this. He's like, what one would you buy if you had to make a decision? Most people are like, I go with the dog with the hat. Like, it was really fascinating. How is he? Like people want. We were talking about it this morning on our team meeting, right? A confused mind never buys. People want simplicity. They want things that are fun or a joke. And man, a lot of this utility stuff is a wet dream for some people, but for most, it's so far over their head that they don't. If it doesn't have green candles in it and a funny meme or a picture with it, they don't really care to buy it.
Yep, that's 100% accurate. And I mean, like I said, it could be just a seasonal thing. I don't know, but like, who am I to argue with the market? You look, I'm not here to be right. Like, because I like utility tokens and I like node validators and I might even like T-shares and I might like staking and getting profit sharing from a platform. Like, I love the sound of these things and it makes me excited. But if like I'm not here to be right. I'm here to make money. That's it. I'm not here to be right. I don't care. You guys can go and fight about this all over you want on Twitter. I will I'm here to make a couple dollars. You're back. Did I lose you or did you lose me?
I think it's my end. Can you hear me now?
Yep, there we go.
Okay.
Yep, this is accurate. A confused mind never buys. That is very accurate. When you D-Nice, you explore the craft of sales. I love the craft of sales. In fact, if you learn sales, you'll never be broke again in your entire life. You learn the craft of sales. Sales and marketing, those two things, and you can become as rich as you ever want with those two skill sets. Yeah, a confused mind never buys. It doesn't. So,
well, people like things that make them money. So like you could talk about the tokenomics and all these cool things until you're blue in the face, but if something doesn't pump while it feels like all the other things that have no meaning and are just jokes, like people get bored and tired and they move on from those things. And so it's a tricky balance. In fact, Axis is on here. It'd be a tricky balance between, as a market maker, how do you manage that thing first, and how do you stay relevant while there's always a new thing popping up, right? With a cool new narrative that's fun or flashy. It's an interesting question.
yep, absolutely.
It's a good question. Yeah, what do you think about this, Corey? Do you think the market is pricing in earning potential for 9M fees or 9-inch and ink farms?
No, I just think the market speculates and buys what they think is going to get them money today or tomorrow. They FOMO. I think that's all. I mean, ink people are speculating because it's an RH token and they have all these narratives of what it's going to be used for. It's going to have this use case, that use case. It's the meme coin of Pulsechain. Like there's so many things I hear about it. And plus, it was seriously depressed, as you know, Axis that coin was sold down to 40 cents from $80. How depressed was that coin at its bottom? And so like now maybe it's more accurately priced right in relevance to Pulse. Because if we noticed, as Pulse took an absolute bleeding or a bloodbath this last month or so, the ink held up really well in relevant to Pulse. It did not go back down and touch anywhere near a 40 cent, 50 cents. Now, I don't know if it's the bottom. I feel like it's a local bottom. I could be wrong, but ink held up its value very well. 9-inch, man, I'll tell you, the narrative spun out of there was from Solid X, and that's all that is. Solid X and his well friends and all of the FOMOing in, and it's all narratives. It's all narratives, and it's all just FOMO and emotion, and we just got to figure out where the market is placing that emotion at. And it could be here on the ink token for quite a while. It could be on the 9-inch for quite a while, I think. Yeah, just because these narratives fun. Unlike, hey, let's stake our utility token and get platform revenue fees. It's just I don't know what the market doesn't consider it fun. I like it because I love passive income, but apparently passive income's a trap in crypto. So it's like whatever. I've learned that lesson, and yeah, buy
It's
and hodl.
fascinating. Yeah, on the ink chart, I mean, ink only dipped 30% in Pulse terms
Yeah,
from its
God, it's
local high down
strong.
to this dip here. That's pretty wide.
And if you think for some reason ink is not going to pump hard in the next run up, you got another thing coming to you. That's my opinion. Financial advice. I have no idea, no crystal ball. Not just to do it on the internet, but man, I think ink's going to end up being the next hardcore runner on the next run up too. I do. And if I'm wrong, fine. I hold bags of everything. I hold bags of Hex. I hold bags of Pulsex. But man, ink just the market likes to speculate on dumb shit. That's all it is. Nobody wants to create node validators and mine the chain. I do, but nobody else wants to do that, right? Like they rather go buy the ink token because it's got it's got cool neon colors, and I don't know. It's interesting. I do like ink though.
Pulsex too, a 30% pullback was the most from top to bottom,
Yeah.
and it's almost recovered. That's pretty fascinating. Pulsex is now only in Pulse
and that's
terms,
because
only 30% dip back from the all-time high versus Pulse.
I feel like they were severely undervalued this last go around, this last little bear market that we had in them. They were so seriously depressed against Pulse. We'll probably never see them down in those levels ever again because they were so depressed and just took a beating against the layer one. I just don't know, and I could be wrong, but I mean, if you looked at Pulsex and Ink, the last downward price action that we saw, that they were just down and forever to the right. I didn't know if there was going to be ever a bottom. It looked like ink was going to zero.
It did. It did.
Like,
the people buying those lows, man, I was not confident buying those lows. So good for the guys.
My man right here was. This guy right here was doing it. This guy's a freaking goat, man. I wish I saw what he was seeing then, because yeah, dude, he was believing in the ink token in those lows. I was buying Pulse. Like I was steady buying Pulse. I'm like, man, I wish I allocated even 10% of that economic capital to ink at that time. It wasn't 40 or 50 cents. Holy crap, bro. Man.
Hex making a real nice turnaround versus Pulse. I mean, it's up 70%, roughly speaking, versus this bottom over here versus Pulse. That's fascinating. So at what point, I mean, I'm curious what you guys think. At what point, because we've talked about, especially Corey, credit to Corey, where historically, right, you want to, if you're buying anything outside of the layer one, it's because you think that at least during a short period of time that thing can outperform the layer one to get you more of that. At what point does that equation shift where, where Pulse is the one outperforming these others? Does that happen? Do all the other RH coins outperform Pulse this bull run? What do you guys think? I'm curious. Corey's still feeling pretty strong about gathering the Pulse.
But I know from other people who have participated in crypto for 5, 10 plus years that when your main goal should always be just accumulate in the layer one, that nothing beats the layer one in the long run. In the long run, nothing beats the layer one. And everything else is designed, basically, most everything else is designed to take away your layer one, to take away your Pulse bag, to get it in their hands. That is what most protocols and most coins are are designed to do. If you go back and look at the old Ethereum ICO craze, that's what all it was. It was a bunch of like, just, you know, you can kind of relate it to some of the sacrifices that we went through. You know, it was just there to take your pulse away, or your Ethereum. Back then it was Ethereum, but you talked about it happened on AVAX, it happened on Phantom, it happened on like and over the course of the entire market cycle, the layer one outperformed because it was steady. It was a steady performance over the year to year and a half, where you get that steady growth versus like it's a tortoise and the hare, right? Versus a meme coin. Meme coin, man, you got like we saw Solid X. Solid X did that shit in like 5 days, bro. Went to like, and then in Solid X's defense, it's been holding pretty well at its current level. But man, it had a big old blow off top in like no time. You could have took a lot of money in the Pulse then, and that Pulse could be working for you now for the next year. I mean, yeah, it's stuff to consider. I just listen to a lot of the older guys who've been around. I try to take advice from them, you know, and they tell me something, I'm like, okay, these guys should know.
Yeah, it's interesting to consider. Yeah, Actis likes Pulse. Yeah, I do too. I think it'll be really interesting to see. I think all the R8 stuff though will do just fine, like we talked about a lot. Yeah, Axis says feels like the lows are in on the RH core assets a week or two of chop before a move. I mean, I wouldn't even. Once again, I'm no chart expert, but I wouldn't even be surprised if it took longer. I wouldn't be surprised if May in general is super boring into June, maybe even into June, and then maybe July or August things heat back up again. Maybe I'm speaking and being optimistic because I'd like to buy more of the lows. Need some time for more accumulation. But
Dane's butting your bags because he's being greedy and wants to buy the bottom. So you Twitter toxic Jeets, go sell your bags because we'll buy them.
Yep. Yeah, especially if Bitcoin pulls off for 3 months. I mean, it's holding. Bitcoin's holding pretty steady here. What are we at? We're at about 63K. You know, can we put in some higher lows here? That's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, we're just hanging out. I would love some more boring price action. I would love to buy some more lows here. Give us some time to be able to scoop some more up. That would be very nice.
I agree. I'm in no rush, man. I can do this all day with you guys. I'm in no rush. After getting brutally like freaking beaten to a pulp during the SEC FUD, whatever you guys bring now, like whatever, go bring it on. Like this is nothing. This is a dip for ants for me. Bring it, man. I'm ready. I'm starting to believe some of this. I mean, the elongated cycle versus the left translated cycle, you know, or I'm also believing that this time is different narrative is once again BS, which it usually is, right? It's always this time is different. No, it's not. It's the same. But yeah, I mean, I would love a elongated cycle. Holy crap, Axis. And I know you've made some really good, strong points in your private community on why that could happen. And that would, I mean, me and Dane will be here for it because we have delayed gratification mindset. Like when you come from the real estate space, like you don't get rich in a year or two from real estate. In fact, you don't even get rich in like 4 or 5 years. Real estate it takes years, if not decades, you know, to get rich in real estate. Now, you can make a quick buck by flipping houses, but it doesn't get you rich, and you still have to like build a business that's been around for a few years. So, man, like, yeah, if you want to give me the 2026, I'm here for it.
In fact, in conjunction with that, the idea that Sami's talked about a few different times is like finishing this year red in Bitcoin. I mean, you'd have to. I'm looking at the chart here. You'd have to be sub 44, roughly 44K Bitcoin to finish this year red by the end of the year. Yeah, for Bitcoin to finish red, which would be fascinating. Yeah, and then theoretically, 2025, 2026 heat back up again. That would be wild. It would be nice to go higher for longer. I would love that.
Yeah, I'm in no rush, bro. I mean, I'm out here in Puerto Rico just hanging out and chilling. Like whether we're making our money next year or in 2026, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Yeah, this Frank
Yeah,
will put you at 44K right before year end.
that'd be interesting. That would be very interesting.
What fractal are you talking about, Axis? What am I missing here?
He might have it on his Twitter. He
Oh,
might
maybe it
have that
is.
on there.
In fact, if we want to do some TA stuff, we could have Axis come in here really quick if you want to jump in, Axis. We're always game for a little bit of charting for someone that's better at this than us.
He said, "Sure, send him a link real quick."
Okay, let's do it.
He can come on and give us chart plebs an idea what the hell we're looking at.
I'll send it on Twitter here, Axis. Let's do it.
Yeah, I like what Brett says. There's a lot of economic FUD, but I know from experience watching from 2001 to 2008 till now, it takes a long time for the economy to play out. It does, man. It can go on for a few more years. The government keep extending and adding air to it. Yeah, the one thing they're very good at is kicking the can down the road, and the biggest tool they use for that is obviously the money printer. They know how to make money go burr, and if they do that, like literally, what does that mean for crypto? Like it means a lot of good things for crypto if that's what happens. Yeah, I got a little bit there, Steven. I got a little bit as a meme coin.
Yeah, up
Let's
like a triple already. That's pretty crazy.
Let's see what they do with it. I did appreciate those guys going off and building on another protocol and another chain, but I like the idea that they're trying to bring some of this technology though, and then tie it up with ICOSA and stuff like that. And if you guys have no idea what we're talking about, it's the Gifford coin. They have like some kind of like ARB thing. I don't know. I don't know the exact tokenomics of all of it, but it's an interesting protocol that could be worth to look at. Oh, we got him on. Boom, baby. What up, brother, man? Yeah, if you want to just show some of the charts there that you were
sure.
looking at, help us,
because you guys have you got a good perspective on this. You've been with me, in the membership for a while, so you kind of know what I'm thinking here. But maybe for everyone else to see. Let's see here. Let's see here. What I've been looking at and
Money Gang, I own way more Solid X than I do DWB. But
by the way, on that Solid X trade, it looks like it's starting to base out a little bit. It seems like a lot of the profit taking is over. So I mean, there's that opportunity cost of being an altcoin if you're gonna, because remember what I've been saying about when the RH core assets move, it's going to suck the air out of the room, and all of the altcoins are going to get hit. But I think what the market's not accounting for is earning potential on coins like the exotics that you can get. You can use the solid index in the 9-inch farms. And so, I mean, you got to think that, there's stuff that you don't know about. If they do upgrades to 9-inch, those are bullish events that can drive price on BBC, which can drive your yield. And so you have to be like 2 or 3 steps forward thinking about that possibility as well. And I agree with you, Corey, about the trap of yield on Pulsechain, which is like you have to be very, very, I mean, on any DeFi product, really. Like it's all kind of like smoke and mirrors unless you're with the right guys farming the right stuff. And I think that's what you're going to see come out of this phase, this season, so to speak, is you're going to start to see people realize which stuff was the stuff to go after for yield for like a 12 to 18 month period, or which stuff was just temporary. But there's a lot of inherent risk there. And so I think ultimately the only thing I could recommend would be buy the core RH assets and stick them in at least some percentage in the ink farms, right? That's your base. If you don't have that covered, then you should probably be looking at anything else. All right. So this is
All right, what are we looking
Bitcoin.
at?
Yeah, this is the Bitcoin chart here. And this is the all-time history in orange. And so all I did was I took these two lines. The yellow dashed line on the bottom is the lower. It's a rough draw of the logarithmic regression band. It's just my hand drew it, and then I copied it, took it to the top line to connect the tops, and dragged them down. You can see the top line curves a little more. But anyway, so if you get this in here, you can give us an idea of how we might play with this. And it looks like a big squeeze will have to occur in one direction or the other. And so I just took this yellow box here and then blew it up here on the bottom. And so there's two fractals here. There's the green fractal, which would be if this plays out from the same point in Bitcoin's history at that point right after the halving in 2015, 16. If we're at that same point going forward through the cycle, this is kind of how that's going to play out then, is where this is a bottoming area. And we just go sideways all the way till September. Just chop between, the high there at 73 to where we're at now. And then we just chop in there, and then we get an explosive move in September. The other one is the 2019 fractal where we crashed off that mid-cycle high. So that would be, forgot I have a drawing stick here. This period is what this is, the red one.
Ah.
Okay, so like this would be our mid-cycle correction. Although, look at this one didn't get to the highs, whereas this one did get to the highs. So that's unique to this cycle, that left translated or faster moving or ETF money, all those things. But why? But even though it's a bigger move with more money, why can't it still play out the same though? So you get this kind of sideways down structure where you get this deep broadening wedge. So I mean, this would be welcome, I think, and this would hit you at 40K right at the turn of the year, 44K. So it's just, because of that scarce supply of Bitcoins, like it's kind of predictable to some degree, even though it seems like it shouldn't be, and this time's different and all that stuff. It seems like it should be different because you're getting like this really high up mid-cycle high, which did nowhere near as high. It didn't get up to the highs, that time, but this time it did.
Yeah.
So, but is it different? What do you guys think?
I mean, what's also interesting, Access, is that the chart, it's no longer going up to the right like an extreme. It's curved over where now like it's almost starting to flatten out, and it's easier to hit a previous cycle high now than it was before because we were going so up and to the right. Does that make sense?
It's super perceptive of you to say that. So like the distance between, this cycle to this cycle peak, that's a big difference than the next cycle, and it's a big difference from this cycle. So this cycle here, look at how much less room there was between this and this. Like look how big this one is. This one's just not nearly as big. So it didn't take as much to get up here because the drawdown wasn't as bad.
Exactly. That's the part that's it makes sense when I look at it from that lens.
And so you could take this one step further and say, like, okay, so if this is the future of Bitcoin, then are we not just going to see a situation where the TradFi market just squeezes all of the exciting volatility out of Bitcoin? Something that we've been talking about for a couple of years. Is this not a situation where they're just it's going to go up into the right forever, but at a much slower rate?
Well, then it's the gold ETF chart. When the ETF got approved, it shot up like a rocket, and then like it just.
Yeah, and so let's see, what if we go to gold? Got it in here.
So I think it was you, Axis, that was talking about. Was it you saying that? I think some of the central bankers were saying that they messed up on the gold ETF, and they never want that to happen. Anything else because it grew too rapidly against the dollar.
Yeah, it was somewhere back in here in 03, I think, where it broke this level. I'm pretty sure this was also the period here in like either the late 90s. I hate coming on and saying stuff that's not definitive, that I don't have all the actual data on, but I'm pretty sure under this green line between 1993 and 2008, this was the period where JP Morgan was like shorting the gold market with like 2x the global supply or something, and they got fined heavily by the authorities for doing so. So then you got to think too, not only did the gold ETF cause this massive upside, but it was fueled by like artificial suppression during this period, I believe. So it was kind of like a pressure cooker play. So as soon as, JPM's like, okay, we got fined for 40 billion, so now let's like get an ETF so we can run it back the other way and make our money back. You got to think that, hey, by the way, this looks awfully a lot like the Solid X chart. Blow off top, chop, sideways gets boring, final breakdown, capitulation, and then boom. You know what else this looks like? That as you see that same psychology. So it's interesting because on Pulsechain we get to replay these human psychologies out over multiple different charts. Bitcoin gives us the same exact chart back in 2018, right here, where it blows off top, goes sideways. You get that final capitulation, and then you get a bump and run reversal bottom. So yeah, you'll see these. You'll see that the longer you're watching charts, you'll see the same shit play out because it's just humans making decisions.
Pull the Pulsechain price chart. What do you think about that one?
I love it right now. I think it's so awesome.
Yeah, it's great to me.
Just on the surface, okay, so you got this like tighter window here where we're just playing with the bottom again. So obviously the FUD down here is nowhere near what it was down here. We have a lot of definitely feels a lot different. You definitely have a class of investors playing the game, and back then there wasn't that many altcoins that was that popular. Now there's like a whole suite of different sub communities that have been built out. So it's just a different environment. But even if you did
Eads Law,
okay,
I got that from Money Gang.
Oh, dude, that good shout out to him because that was good, man. I like that he helps us discover new ways of seeing the market that we didn't know before. Money Gang's awesome. Yeah, because I didn't know.
Where's that fractal from? Oh,
This is the bottom of the SEC crash. So I mean, this is like what you were saying. Remember, end of summer. Here's your September. Move out of here. September. It's after this 3 months of boring. If Bitcoin's gonna go shit the bed for a few months, and it would make sense that this is what you could get a repeat, which would have us out. Here's August. Here's end of September, and then you get the move out. So you're looking at end of September for new highs, basically, if you replay this fractal out. But you can't say that. I can't comfortably give you definitively that's how it's going to play out because I don't know or think that that's even possible or that's plausible even. Did want to do the expanded channel here too.
I think it's easy to answer the question. Like in Crypto 7, I was talking about this earlier in our show that I'm a reaffirmed ETH maxi now, and that I'm shilling Ethereum for everyone to buy. And it's the opposite of the narrative that we have been talking about for the last like 3 years. What do you see on the ETH chart axis? I would love to know where you think ETH is going. There's a lot of structure and history in Ethereum, which would like kind of make a determination what's going on with ETH.
This looks like a lot like, just structurally, it looks a lot like this period. You're getting a nice bull flag in the middle of a cycle. I hope this doesn't happen because, man, the cycle would be over by November. Or within 12 months, I guess the cycle would be over if it replayed the same. I'm just looking at time frame analysis. I'm looking at similarities in price action. Do I think we're at that point?
I mean, what price does that fractal put ETH at?
Ethereum. Yeah. It eerily looks the same there, Axis.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you kind of get similarities here a little bit because you had this like triangular structure here. It was a rising wedge that, these are supposed to break down. This one broke up, but then it came back to do what it was supposed to do. But this one is like a way better formed ascending triangle, and then the clean breakout. So the most you're going to get out of this is a retest of 2100. I just think that ETH is so useful as like the oil and gas of cryptocurrency right now that, the max downside you could see on this is like 21 to 2300 maybe. I don't really see it going much lower. I think it's gonna be hard to get it down there because just from a simple supply and demand dynamic, even looking away from the chart, thinking about the supply and demand dynamic, and Richard buying up 170,000 of them, and Justin Sun buying up, tens of thousands or 100,000s of them. And then if you look at that glass node thing I'd like to show, hopefully I'm logged in. Cool. So, I mean, this is super telling too, right? Is the exchange balances total. We're at levels that we haven't been at since back here in 2016. So I mean, you're just like, there's just nothing on the market at this point. You've come down since the on-chain ETH supply has come down since here in 2020, DeFi summer. DeFi, actually, this is kind of maybe foreshadowing the importance of DeFi. Is that once Uniswap came out, we've only seen a decrease in on-exchange balances. So that's maybe this really is the ETF cycle crossed with the real DeFi cycle, where real DeFi comes out, like Hedera Hashgraph is coming out with real world assets on chain. Layer 0 is coming out with interoperability between chains. It's just like these, all of the pipes are getting connected now. That to me is probably, looking away from Pulsechain, that's so exciting. I think Pulsechain is uniquely positioned because what it does is its very existence makes ETH more valuable. And what I mean by that is it brings the cost to transact on ETH way down, and that makes Pulsechain more valuable. They're like twin turbos of an engine. And so they require each other to at least for this season, they require each other for success. I don't think we've seen gas at 5.8 Gwei in how long? Like I saw it at 4.2 Gwei just last night or 2 days ago. It's so I went and minted some Hedron and did a couple things on the ETH chain. This is another reason why I think eHex has lasting value too, because if you got, let's say you had I don't want to turn this into an eHex discussion, but just a side piece here was that if you bought 100 million or 200 million of those things, you can capture a lot of the supply through staking. And gas mean nothing to you on like a 5x on eHex. And if pHex goes, let's say Pulse goes and does a 500x, you're saying you're saying that pHex won't do 100x and eHex can't do a 10x? Like, those kinds of numbers are so good. 10x on eHex from here would be juicy, plus the yield. It seems like a contrarian play, is kind of what my point is. So, okay, so back to the ETH chart.
And Axis, can you hear the feedback, Corey, in the mic, in Axis's mic, or is that just me?
Yep. No, his mic sounds like it's like on my end, kind of like muted or muffled. Not sure if it's on or if it's coming through. And I'll answer this, Jeff. And this is what we're talking about. Pulsechain, man, really. Oh, it's way better. I would say, Jeff, Pulsechain just needs Ethereum to pump. That's it. But Ethereum gets, 100%. Up to $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a coin. Like Pulsechain is going to the freaking moon, no matter what. Like, we just need ETH to go. And so bring in your friends in the Pulsechain, sure, if you want them to ride the ride, but we don't need it. Not for this cycle. Yeah.
So you asked me where is this fractal taking us? If this is where we're starting it from, this bull flagging area, which by the way, a bull flag is invalidated at 50% of the move, so this wouldn't technically, this bull flag is no longer, this is a bull flag on this chart from up here, but down here it's a broadening wedge, which completely retraced the move, which would not be a bull flag. So just to be clear, I just try to be super clear nowadays because people like to misconstrue information. But so this means that we bottom out in August, double bottom out in November, and then March of next year we rip up to 7K, and then by July we're heading up to like beyond 30,000. And I don't know. I think for me, you're going to get the same effect with this as you got with Bitcoin, which is this line is going to curve out. So maybe let me draw that. Give me a second to draw that and comment while I'm doing this here.
Right, a little less volatility to the upside there.
Yeah. Something like this where you get, it's still pretty steep, man. Look at that. It's still
I know.
very like it's got. You know what I was thinking about though was because ETH has so much competition with like all the other layer ones, or even if you don't want to frame it as competition, but just parallel networks all trying to solve the same problem, you might get a dilutionary effect on some of this stuff. But let's see. So yeah, this would have us. It's definitely a different look for sure. Like it doesn't work the same here. Like I can't get this to. It's Bitcoin is unique in that, but look, we're close to the point where something has to happen. And to me, I think it's gonna get squeezed, probably to the upside, right? So
Where does that cross happen? What's the date there? Roughly speaking, yeah.
July of next year. So that would have us pinned somewhere in here for till July of next year, and then boom. I think my target was 8 to 12K with a maximum move to 15K for ETH this cycle. And when that changed for me personally is when Richard started talking about $240,000 Bitcoin. I trust that judgment a little more because he's been so good at calling tops in the past. And as soon as he said it, it made sense, but I would never have thought that to myself and said that out loud first, you know what I mean? But as soon as he said it, it's like, oh, yeah, duh, with all the ETF money, that makes sense now, that Bitcoin could actually go and hit like 240K, which would put you up here, which kind of lines up nicely with this chart. So this line here is 242K, right where he said.
Wow.
Yeah. And so so then we could measure it. We could spend another half hour measuring stuff out. But what is that from here? 60, 120. It's like a 4x. If we're gonna get a 4x on BTC, we can at least get an 8x on ETH. And so an 8x on ETH is what's 8, 16, 24K. With overperformance to like 32K. Feels like a 10x. Feels right to me for ETH. And if ETH's gonna get 32K, how much ammo does that give Pulsechain?
Dude, Pulse and freaking moon. Pulse and freaking moon.
Yeah. So, anyways, I hope that was fun. I know it was fun for
you
me.
guys are going to be coming out here to Puerto Rico. We're going to be hanging out on some yachts. Crypto 7 likes to say Monaco. Monaco might be a little far for us, 7, although I might come visit. But you're going to have to come here to Puerto Rico and hang out on some yachts, man. If ETH hits $30,000, it is over.
I got a question. Is there a world where this separately if you want? I think it would be a very good exercise to perform, where your crypto bags are worth so much that even in the event of a 90% drawdown, you're still making more money in passive income than all of your rental properties combined. Is that a situation where you'd be more comfortable keeping percentages in crypto or larger percentages than you had initially anticipated? And if so, and you can also factor in that you sell the top and you put that into stables and you put those stables in a yield farm for 5 to 8% APR in stablecoin.
I like ladder, so I plan on doing some of that with the ladder, right? With some of the stable coin, holding some of the value there, making the passive income, because you want money on chain anyways to be able to take opportunity. It takes so long. If you're in real estate, and that's where your liquidity's at, to go from real estate to fiat to on chain, that's a process. So I do want some liquidity, some stable coin on chain to be able to come in and start dollar cost averaging in when I see the opportunity to buy the dip or whatever it may be. Maybe it's a new protocol launching. I don't know. Although, no, I've learned my lesson. When new protocols launch in the beginning of a bear market, they get wrecked.
Hey, before you answer, Dan, my other thought was like, if this is the trend for Bitcoin and it's just gonna like go like this forever now, and just this volatility gets squeezed out of it, but it's still gonna go up and to the right, does that put us in a situation where basically the whole crypto ecosystem just kind of slowly grinds up, and so you don't get this massive drawdown long term? You're gonna always have bear markets and bull markets, but does it Does it change the
But
dynamics
sir,
enough?
you're saying that is a this time is different narrative.
No, because you you're definitely going to need to take profit at the peak and put that in stable farms and let that stable, like if it's $1 million and you're making 5% APR, is that enough to keep you in there with the cost benefit of being able to quickly deploy on something? And or is that even enough to keep you in just to sit there for 2 years earning that 5%? Or is that not enticing enough? Is there more money to be made in the real world?
There's a lot
There
more
is.
to be made in the real world, yeah. A lot.
There is in real estate. We can get anywhere from 15 to 25% IRR on our money, which in crypto terms is yield in real estate by being just the money in deals, not even being like, we don't have to run the deals. We don't have to find the deals. Like we can just go invest friends deals and they know how to run good deals. Like
What's
we have
the
one
super
guy.
conservative estimate? Like 15% maybe?
Well, even that's fairly aggressive. Like, be more conservative. If you're one of the boring ones and you want to get into a deal, they give you 6% passive and 6% pref. Then you're 12%. Call it 12%. On a 8 to 12%, being real conservative.
Well, that gives
so in
crypto
that
guys a
scenario,
metric,
so
you know?
like if it was just cash flow, I mean 5% versus 8 to 12. When you factor the fees to pull the money off the chain and put it back in the bank to go do real estate, maybe it's pretty close. The biggest thing with that equation for most people, now Corey and I live in Puerto Rico, so it's less of a concern for us, but for most people, if you've got $1 million or a few $1 million, well, theoretically you're supposed to pay taxes on that, right? Now you get to determine how or what you may do in that respect, but you're going to be able to offset so much of that tax burden by putting in a real estate that there would be absolutely no reason not to go do that. Like, you would need really, really significant upside on the passive income on chain to skip that step, because otherwise you're just going to give your money away to the government. You might as well go buy an apartment complex instead.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an element that most people don't like about.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, we appreciate you guys sharing that with us, because then it gives, people in the space need to be thinking, 5 and 10 years out, and that's why it gives people an option. So, last question.
Diversification is so good, Access. I mean, like I get it. Like in crypto, diversification might not be the best thing depending on what you're diversified in, right? But when you're talking about like real world assets and the different classes, diversification is great, man. I mean, imagine leaving down a 3,000 unit apartment complex. So that thing's going to pay them for that. They're set for life, right? Yeah. So there's just different tools in the tool belt depending on what you're trying to achieve. That's why we always say crypto is a wealth creation tool, because there is nothing like crypto. It is the highest appreciating asset class known to mankind. In the story period, nothing is the opportunity that crypto gives as far as building wealth, but preserving that wealth, a little bit different story on preservation. It's a different game that people play when you reach a different level of money too. Like with the higher level of money you reach, the more you're about preserving that wealth and trying to make more wealth. You take less risk. Your risk tolerance goes down. Someone who has $100 million has a lot less risk. Now, he took a lot of risk early, but now he doesn't need to take that risk anymore. He just wants to preserve that wealth and beat inflation. Inflation's his biggest threat. That's it.
How does the market price in risk in an event that Pulsechain is successful, and what does success look like? Like, does it look like 1 million users?
That's why I'm all in, bro.
50,000 or 100,000 active users a day, and how do you measure the downside of that, and how much risk is left at that point? If it's like if Hex goes to $1 or $2 this cycle, does that solidify it as a store of value and like it's a second cycle coin and stuff like that, or how does the market change? How does the mind of the market change? When is risk reduced, and when does that become permanent? And a lot of these questions that are hard to answer. I'm not asking you guys to answer them. I'm asking everyone to think about them, because there is a reality where that becomes reality, and you never getting these prices again on this stuff. And
I don't think I'll ever see 4 zeros in a on Pulse ever again. I don't. I mean, I could be wrong, and I would buy that dip if I ever did. But when I bought that,
someone's got to support it down
Yeah.
here. I mean, we are. We're down here at the bottom supporting it.
I bought it at 403, dude. I was in there. I was throwing him. I tell the story all the time in the show when I was buying there in the SEC bottom. And every time I do a
you feel
DCA,
sick to your stomach. I remember.
Yeah, I feel like I was throwing money down the toilet. It literally felt like I was flushing it down the toilet. I would never see anything out of it until the beginning of the year came. Oh shit! I guess I was sticking to my original plan worked. So I was like.
I think, and I think you see a lot of the mindsets change around some of this stuff when something like a hex truly can be a bear market hedge, right? It's one thing if somebody just lost 99% of their value from the top. It's another in a few more cycles, in my opinion, when the volatility is dampened and you lose 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50%, people are like, I could stomach that because my passive income offset some of it. And so, so it's different now. But I think so many people feel strong PTSD from this last go around. You need a few cycles for those mindsets to really change. Either that or like on the downside, I mean, maybe none of this stuff pumps all that hard. And so you don't have that much of a downside either.
Interesting. I didn't really think about that. That helps, though, by the way. I mean, a lot of people.
Now, none of us are here for that, right? Like, none of us.
Well, I mean, even like just 50 or 100x would be, technically not. It's so insane that you could expect 90% drawdowns, right? So, because you would get that with some adoption. So then that would dampen the downside. I agree with you, though. I think nobody can sit here and say that staking hex, if you're going to sell in the next year or two, was the right move up till now in a lot of cases. Sure. But longer term, it very much probably will be, because it'll survive and the price appreciation will still shock everybody. But yeah, it's interesting. So then this leads into my final question. I know we're getting up to top of the hour. Where's the PDI narrative sitting with you guys, and do you see that as a path forward to support hex as the long-term, blockchain CD that can sustain really high prices with this potentially billions of dollars of liquidity web that's sitting locked away in the LP pools on Pulsechain? Is this where are you guys sitting with the PDI narrative?
I like PDI. I think PDI is. I think it's fascinating to consider. I like it for a couple different reasons. The first is like the people that really want to nerd out on the utility that could be there and the liquidity and how all this stuff could web together. Like, it's interesting, right? There's a lot of nooks and crannies to delve down, and I also like it on the meme end. Like, for people that don't want to understand it that much, they're like, oh, this is just a coin that's going to $1. It's supposed to be priced there anyways, and so it's going to $1. And you're like, oh, that's simple. I'd buy that. What if it really gets there? Like, it works for both people, and I think that's important. I think the narrative's compelling. Does it get to $1? I will be as shocked as the most shocked person if we get to $1 this cycle. That would be great. But I think it's interesting enough that I think there's a lot more room to run.
I don't PDI, so it's hard for me to comment on on that. Like, 99% of my meme coin bag is Solid X, bro. I am hard in Solid X.
Man, if I was anybody else, I could say more.
I love Solid X. That's my meme coin play, and whatever it does, maybe I'll end up taking some profits in PDI when the timing is right. If you're
really up right now on Solid X, and you could be part of that, $1.9 million sell wall that's sitting on 9mm right now, and capture some of that next move.
How much is sitting there? Pull up that
Yeah,
sell
sure.
wall real quick. Let's look at that.
Yeah. So this is something to keep in mind, and depending on what side of the fence you're on, either you're looking to take profit and exit through single-sided, or you wanna help this thing pump harder. So you may feel the other way, like, oh well, if this thing's gonna pump, I want to take some down. Let's see. Yeah, I was looking at this last night. Oh yeah, I think I have to connect.
I like when
1 second.
there's a OA or Greg the Duck or a whale. Did you hear Axis? Apple's OA is buying their stock back.
I love that comparison. I absolutely
Apple's
love
got a
it. It's
Greg the
like
Duck.
it's right in the face of, every big company's got a Greg the Duck, and how awesome of a comparison is
Right. Yeah, and everyone's praising that Greg the Duck.
Right.
Everyone's praising him. Like, man.
Buying back Warren Buffett's shares, and Warren Buffett's companies, they just put $5 billion into taxes, so that everyone should be happy that they're paying taxes, and then they should be happy that Apple's buying back Warren Buffett's dump. So it's like a nice full circle. I got a hummingbird floating out my window right now. Cool. So yeah, this is something to keep in mind here. Some levels to watch for. So we got this chunk here, and then this chunk here, I would say is the bigger chunk. I'm going to try and remember. Just visualize this with me. I got to take this down now for a second. 1 second. So this is 1 million to 2 million. This is 2 million here. So 1 million to 2 million. There's some liquidity from 2.5 million to 6.7 million PLS per solid X. You have like two big major chunks here, right? So you got these two bricks. If you just total up, this is a rough estimate. If you total up all this liquidity here and just average it out, you're looking at like 1.5, 1.8 million dollars of liquidity sitting here. That needs to, so that's on this. That's not including, liquidity on other pairs. So if you want to exit, play this game appropriately. Seek places where liquidity is less because it's got a higher chance of pushing through quicker. If you can play the longer game, put it out farther, or you could remove it or dampen it where you just put less liquidity out on a wider range, something like this.
Right.
And so it kind of depends on, how this to me seems like like final desperation. And you'll see this too in the Tengang coins where a lot, like the longer those coins sit sideways, the more that gets bunched up and closer to price. So you'll see like these guys start to be like, I want my money, I want my money, I want my money. And then they just push it far closer and closer and closer, which gives the market maker, boom, it can just pop right through there. And then it's just clean air out here. So it's a market making tactic to try to get people to bunch it up.
So they can blow through it and have less resistance.
Yeah.
What does that price chart look like?
It's pretty flat right now.
And I'll comment on crypto.
It looks like it wants to break down. It looks like it wants to, and this looks kind of like that Pulsechain or that BTC.
Bring it up, Axis.
Oh, whoops, sorry.
You can't see it. I already did Crypto Elite. I got a bag of it, man. I'm not going to shill it, though, because those guys went over there and they pumped and dumped a bunch of people on Titan X, man. I hope they're successful over here on Pulsechain and bring the deck over. But, man, any of the guys who are pumping and dumping Titan X, dude, like, come on.
So you got like this big pennant that formed, and then inside of there you have another pennant that formed. So dude,
that's massive, bro. Dude. It's just one big giant pendant.
Yeah. I wonder how many more guys got in early that still want to sell here, because most of the market activity started after $4. I didn't make my initial tweet until
I remember that
the price was. Oh, let me go to the dollar chart 1 second.
I bought your tweet.
Smart man. I don't usually talk about other coins, so if I say something, it's usually got some kind of upside in it. Yeah, so like a lot of people, they might be up, and I mean, look at the total volume traded from that $4 tweet until like the top of this move was 3 million bucks. Some selling, so maybe 1.5 million. So that, let's just say it was 1.5 million at an average price of like 10 bucks. I mean, these guys are up maybe 6x. Do they really want to sell for the 6x at this point after watching it do this, come all the way back down 76%? Like, those guys are probably okay holding a little bit longer. And if they do want to sell, they're at least patient enough that they're putting it up here on single-sided. So you got to think about like the market psychology behind this. Most people did not capture this big candle, these two first big candles here on the 4 hour. Most of it was maybe $1 million of incoming ammunition at an average price of like, 10 bucks, let's say. So then a million times, this amount was like, you're looking at like 6 million bucks of value. And those guys, if they're up if the market made 6 million bucks on this, they want 60 million bucks and to sell 10%. You know what I mean? If they haven't sold yet, there's like the long-term and the short-term guy. That's kind of how I'm reasoning it out to be. And, this crash on SolidX from here, this was because of that big hack that occurred on, or not hack, the big drain event that happened on Axis that kind of dragged it down here. On the 27th and 28th, which, dude, that still sucked, man. Feel bad for that guy.
Yep. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
But
why do you say you think it wants to break down more?
I just think that there's like maybe a few. Well, I mean, here it's in an uptrend here against the dollar, so I don't know if it wants to break down more. I'm saying that it may want to break down more because people get impatient. This isn't an uptrend. I was looking at the pulse pair too, so if there's a cohort of people that was going to listen to what Corey said earlier and dump their shit for RH core assets at the bottom, which is smart. If this is the bottom, this is smart. They may want to come back in later. The big thing that I caution people on one way or the other is never go all in one way or the other if you believe in both, because you could get left behind on one or the other and you just can't know, because a whale could turn up one day and just change the situation. That's what happened back here on the hourly. If I go back to this period right here, it looked like it was over. You can't even see this anymore, but it was down 54%, and it looked like it was over, and then Firewhale stepped in and pumped it back to the highs in a couple 4 hour candles, or a couple hourly candles. And that similar thing happened here where price tanked 68%, but somehow was back up to the highs within 13 hours. And so if you get enough ammunition, you get enough whales that are kind of want to accumulate this thing and drive it up. If this thing went right up to here tomorrow, how many people are going to actually exit up here?
Right.
I don't know.
There'd be some.
There would be
sure.
some. That's why you'd get that sideways. You see it in hacks, you see it in pulse. You saw it in pulse here. Comes up here and then it goes sideways for a bit. So you see it where it gets to high levels, and you do see some exiting. Difference is that SolidX is much more scarce and has an OA that has more control, whereas Pulse it's basically still got bull market money from last cycle in it at these prices. Right. I mean, that's crazy to think about. So just totally different setup.
And as Zinc token pumps along with the whole Pulsechain ecosystem, like I'd be afraid of getting left behind, even if Pulse it starts pumping. I'd be afraid to get Firewall could step in with his new gains and really start buying the price chart up.
Yep, you have to factor in what kind of ammunition these guys have and how much that changes when RH. Exactly, when RH coins pump. Yeah. So then there's a couple other things I'll leave you guys with, because I love showing this. By the way, sorry I'm not watching the chat right now, but PulseX looks pretty darn good against Pulse. This Dane showed this chart earlier. PulseX is gaining on Pulse consistently at this point. So that's definitely something you want to keep your eye on.
Yep.
And then
all your narratives of it's a deck token and it's overvalued is wrong, I think. That's 100%. My opinion.
100%. And then Ink, of course, this is the pulse ratio. It broke out right on cue too. See these little explosion points is like where it comes right into the trend and then boom, it breaks out. Bull flag. This was an ascending triangle of sorts. And then against Pulsechain, falling wedge, even more bullish reversal pattern broke out. And we finally saw Ink start to regain back over Hex here, because Hex had taken a punch at Ink lately. And now finally it got Ink pushed through this midline of this channel. And Hex is showing some weakness here at the 618, which is normal. So I think, you know, Ink or Hex can come down and retest this level 10% lower, chop around, which is going to give Ink a chance to regain 20% back the other direction against Hex potentially. So there's always going to be this counterbalance being between Hex yields, Ink yields. We live in a state of immediacy and instant gratification, and I want my gains today, and I don't want to lock my money up right now. So Ink probably has the upper hand, you know, for at least for this part of the cycle.
I like it. I'm looking right now, yeah. I like it. Thanks for jumping on today, Axis. This was great, man. I always appreciate you and your insights. It's been a lot of fun. And we appreciate you guys in the comments. It's a good place to wrap the show. Anything you want to end with, Corey, before we jump off?
No, we got Crypto 7 on tomorrow, so make sure you guys tune in for that one. We'll be an hour later than normal, so typically we go on at 12 noon. In fact, actually, we're always 15 minutes late. But tomorrow we'll try to be on time. We're going to be at 1 p.m. EST with Crypto 7. That should be an absolute banger of a show. Like I said, the last few that I've watched of his, I've learned something new. But once again, guys, Ethereum, go out and beat the drum of ETH. The new narrative is if we want ETH to succeed. ETH to 30,000. Let's go. So this will be a fun show for tomorrow. Other than that, man, just normal week around here. And if you Twitter Jeets want to keep jeeting your bags, me and Dane would greatly appreciate it. We love when you sell because we like to buy. And other than that, man, we'll catch you on the next one.
See you guys.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good one.
Peace.